Already divisions are forming over the party's position on LGBTQ rights. That's after one of the candidates, Richard Décarie, said in an interview with CTV News that being gay is a choice. Other leadership candidates are condemning that position, saying it doesn't represent what the party stands for.
Although I uphold his right to freely speak his own opinion, he's offside with the party position in this matter, and I think that's not good for somebody that's wanting to run as a leadership candidate. I think you can see from the reaction that person is not going to win, for sure.
So does Décarie think his opinion is shared by a wide portion of the Conservative Party? Joining us now is Richard Décarie, leadership candidate for the Conservative Party of Canada. He was also a Deputy Chief of Staff to Stephen Harper from 2003 to 2005. Hi, Mr. Décarie. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
First, let me get your reaction before I ask you about your position. Let me get your reaction to the news that Mr. Poilievre has bowed out of the race.
I wish him all the best, and he has a young daughter, so I understand that it's a lot of pressure on family when you're involved in politics.
You said yesterday, Mr. Décarie, you believe being gay is a choice. Here's how 3 Conservatives responded, 2 of which are running against you. Being gay is not a choice, and nobody should be running for office on a platform to roll back hard-won rights. That's what Peter MacKay wrote. Aaron O'Toole wrote that this statement is ridiculous. The Conservative Party of Canada is open to all Canadians. Our membership made it clear when we voted to recognize same-sex marriage. And Mr. Poilievre, who we were just discussing, says the comments are as unacceptable as they are ignorant. You do not speak for Conservatives or for Canadians. Being gay is not a choice. Being ignorant is. Do you still think, Mr. Décarie, that being gay is a choice?
Yes, I identify people as persons and human beings, men and women. I don't identify them as by their choice or their action. That's mainly my position. I don't want to harm anybody or insult anybody. I don't want to be offensive, and if I did, I'm sorry, because the reaction, I think, is surprising to me.
It's surprising to you that people are negatively reacting to you saying that being gay is a choice?
Absolutely.
Why is that surprising to you?
Because I don't judge people based on their actions or choices. So for me, and I represent a lot of people, I think Marie Vestel in Le Devoir this morning was mentioning that Mr. Charest had a poll that showed that 1/3 of that party is social conservative. So I'm full spectrum conservative, fiscal and all the rest, but also SOCON, and I think it's important that we take that into consideration, that the members are honing the party by their votes, and we will be debating those issues. I think debate is never ended until the members decide that they want to debate it. So let's put that on the table and see what will happen.
Is that just your belief, though, that being gay is a choice, or do you have any evidence or scientific proof to support that? Because I looked for it today and I couldn't find any.
I don't know what to say to that. I'm talking about, I'm respecting all people based on the fact that they are human beings. And based on the relationship I have with them, it depends. So I have no judgment. I respect everybody. So I don't see where is the problem about that. If I make choices
do you think it's respectful,
personally, I
though?
want to be respected.
Do you think it's, I mean, is it respectful to say being gay is a choice and therefore you would remove some rights that gay people currently have in this country? Because you said you would walk back, for example, their ability to be married.
No, in fact, what I said is about the definition of marriage. I think I was with Mr. Harper in 2004 when we fought against the bill that would bring marriage the way it is legislated anymore today. And because of that, I always kept my position based on that. I think marriage should be exclusive to a man and a woman, like it was traditionally the base of a family, that is the base of the society.
So you would repeal the law that was passed, I think it was Bill C-38, that enabled gay people to get married?
No, we have civil unions that apply to everybody, and exclusively to a man and woman would be the marriage definition.
But I don't understand what the difference is then with what exists right now.
Actually, you have a marriage that goes to every civil unions. I think we would differentiate it.
Do you think that your views are consistent with the Canadian public at large? Have you sort of given up on the idea that you want to be prime minister? Or you just want to be the leader of the social conservatives in your party? Like,
We are starting the race for leadership. We have to, like you said, you mentioned, we have to raise $300,000. We have to raise 3,000 signatures. So we are far from debating about, as a prime minister, what you'll be doing. So let's debate inside the party. If 1/3 of the party members agree with my position, we will see it through the campaign, and that will be a debate in itself. And after that, if I win, we will see where it will lead us as the official opposition. And if I don't, you'll see who the leader will be.
Yeah, but if you're running to be leader of that party, in essence, at one point you'll be running to be leader of the country as well. More than 2/3 of Canadians are supportive of gay marriage. I'm wondering if you're taking into account a general election at all, or you're just focused on the social conservatives in your party.
I'm talking about the exclusivity of the name marriage, of the institution of marriage that for thousands of years used to be between a man and a woman. So I think we have to debate it with that specific addition. If the laws have been passed, it's one thing, but it doesn't stop us from debating the issue.
I still don't understand what that means, though. Debating what? You're now saying that if the laws have been passed, you're okay with that, or you're going to repeal them? Like, what exactly are you planning to do?
There's no plan on what to do. The objective is to have the exclusivity of the institution of marriage between a man and a woman. That's mainly what it is. So the rest will be covered by the civil unions, like it used to be in Quebec for many years before that law was adopted.
You're also against abortion. You said you'd stop funding it if you won. Are you saying that you would remove the rights of provinces to decide what they do with healthcare spending?
In fact, the Healthcare Act is a federal responsibility, and abortion is not a healthcare. So for me, pregnancy is not a illness, and abortion is not a cure. So based on that, I would ensure that no federal tax dollars go towards paying for abortion.
Okay, I don't really understand that. So the Canada Health Act, yes, it gives federal jurisdiction to certain aspects of healthcare for the federal government to ensure access for healthcare services, but provinces have the right to decide how that money transferred to them from the federal government for healthcare is spent. In fact, many of the conditions were removed by your former boss, former Prime Minister Stephen Harper. So are you saying that you would then attach conditions to the money that provinces get for healthcare?
Absolutely. In fact, the case that the federal is financing healthcare, and we see the reality of what's happening with healthcare institution, that it's not perfect. I want to make sure that the money goes to elder people and kids and families, and not to something that is not a healthcare in itself.
So you would tell provinces what?
I will tell them that the financement doesn't go to cover the abortion.
And do you think that overriding their jurisdiction is something a conservative government should be doing?
We will be discussing that with the provinces, but I'm also a decentralizer. I promote decentralization with the province, so bringing back a lot of powers to provinces like it used to be before Canada was a centralist governance. So by doing that, we have to establish a discussion with the province, and not the way Mr. Trudeau is doing presently, confronting Alberta, confronting Quebec for the past 50 years. His father before him.
But that's exactly, with respect, that's exactly what you're doing. That's exactly what you're saying. You're saying that the federal government will supersede their jurisdiction on the issue of abortion because of your beliefs.
The federal would reinforce the fact that it finances universal health care across the country, and then if the healthcare is defined as something that heals sickness or problem, health problem, then I think abortion shouldn't be covered by that. So if people want to have abortion, they would have to pay for it, unless the provinces decide differently, and then we establish a negotiation with provinces based on what the federal wants to have.
How much money have you raised so far for your leadership, and how many signatures have you gathered?
I don't keep count of that. It's the next objective is February 27. It's pretty late, so I can tell you since yesterday, I'm in the news, and it keeps on coming in. I have a lot of support based on what I've said yesterday, and I'm sorry if I offended people. I can tell you that there's a lot of members who are very happy that I represent their views publicly.
Okay, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Décarie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Some controversial positions from one of the newest entries in the Conservative leadership race. Candidate Richard Décarie says being gay is a choice and also that abortion should be defunded. Some other leadership candidates are condemning those comments, saying it doesn't represent what the party or they stand for. But do social conservatives think it should be? And if so, could that mean the party is headed for a split? Corey Tenike served as Director of Communications to Prime Minister Stephen Harper and campaign manager for Ontario Premier Doug Ford. He's now managing partner at Rubicon Strategy. Brad Trost is a former Conservative MP. He placed fourth in the 2017 Conservative leadership race. He's also the campaign chair for Richard Décarie's campaign and joins us from Saskatoon. Hi there, both of you. Nice to see you. Corey, I'm going to start with you. Your take on the comments and whether, there's some debate about whether Mr. Décarie should be allowed to run or should be blocked by the party from running.
Yeah, I think you have to separate some of the comments because he said a number of things. I think some people will agree with and some will not. People will not agree with. But I think the comment that they said that I think is the most problematic is around saying that homosexuality is a choice. Now, I think that is stepping across a pretty clear line. One can have a debate on all kinds of social conservative issues, be them around gay marriage or abortion or other issues, and there's a spectrum of views in Canada around that. And there's certainly space in the Conservative Party to have those kinds of social conservative conversations. But where I think you cross the line into bigotry is when you take something that is inalienably a part of someone and you say it's a choice. If this candidate believes that, I don't think he's met very many people who are gay.
Mm-hmm. Brad, do you think that that comment specifically crossed a line into bigotry?
No, of course not. I don't think so. I think what Richard was trying to express was this. He's strongly opposed to gay marriage. He supports the traditional family. He thinks that that's where public policy should be. A man and a woman, their kids, their family. Richard's been pretty clear. He doesn't have anything against, he doesn't like the term LGBTQ. He views them as Canadians who should be treated fairly and with respect. He chooses to express things a little bit differently than a lot of other people would. But no, he's very much part of the Conservative Party. And I don't think it's any problem with what he said.
That's not it. I would just sort of challenge one point that you're making. It's not, he wasn't saying that just to say that he supports or that he's against gay marriage or that he would redefine the sort of definition of marriage. He very clearly, and I asked him multiple times if he still believes, given the opposition, that being gay is a choice. And I take your point that he's saying he's not against people as humans, but he did say he believes these are the choices people make.
Well, for someone like Richard, for a lot of social conservatives, your sexual orientation is not something you are, it's something you do. So that's the way he chooses to express it. He has no bitterness. People are trying to put him on the defensive. He loves all Canadians. Why put words in his mouth when he's happy to support all Canadians, be they gay, straight, black, or white? He's got no issues with people. He has his viewpoint. It's a good viewpoint, and he's standing behind it.
With all due respect, it's not a good viewpoint. It's a bad viewpoint. It's a nakedly bigoted viewpoint.
That's ridiculous.
Let's let Corey finish. Let Corey finish. I'll get you to respond.
And I have no problem with a big tent for the Conservative Party that includes social conservatives and where we have open debates around issues of personal choice and conscience. But there is a very clear line, and I understand that there is a very small subset of social conservatives who think that homosexuality is a choice, and that is flies in the face of prevailing research in this area. It is demeaning and insulting to people within the LGBTQ community. It is an unacceptable perspective for a mainstream party. So my view is he should not be allowed to run. There has to be a line somewhere, right? There are things that we can debate and have conversations about, and there are many, many things. And there are many things that Brad and I would agree that we should have healthy debates on, and at our party is a place that's open to having healthy debates, but not on that. You have to draw a line somewhere, and I believe, and you saw it from the reaction from the other candidates in the race and people in caucus, in the unlikely event this guy ever won the leadership, most of the people in that caucus would not sit in the same room with him under his leadership. And there's a reason for that, because nobody wants to be in a party that is defined by bigotry. And it's just across the line.
Brad, you wanted to respond.
Well, I think what Corey's doing is doing political games. They're exaggerating a remark and they're trying to use it to skew the leadership race. I think there's a lot of people concerned Richard is going to do well in the leadership race. And this is something they're trying to blow out of proportion and try to make something that actually isn't there. Look, if you can't beat a guy at the ballot box, don't call names, don't try to exaggerate things, don't try to take things out of context.
It's not an exaggeration.
And don't do it. If it's so bad, if Conservatives are so opposed to this, he's only going to get 2 or 3% of the vote. So what are you scared of? Are you scared that he's actually going to get a large percent of the vote? That's your real
you have a right
problem,
to free
Corey,
speech.
not
You don't
anything
have
else.
a right to run in a political leadership race. We weed out candidates.
And who appointed you as the only decider of the Conservative Party?
I'm not the person who gets to decide. This is something that the LEOC committee, I think, should look at. And they have a mechanism in the same way that to be an MP, there's a screening process. Not just everyone who wants to run to be an MP, run in a nomination to be a candidate for the Conservative Party at a constituency level is allowed to run. And not everyone who wants to come up with 3,000 signatures and $300,000 should be allowed to run for the leadership. And if you want to express nakedly bigoted comments, like saying homosexuality is a choice, then I think that's a place where you draw the line. I don't think this guy should be allowed to run. I think he's well outside the mainstream of social conservatism.
You're just scared he's going to get a large number of votes in the leadership race, so you're exaggerating
I'm not supporting anybody in the
something.
leadership
Let me ask you, Brad, what do you think specifically is being exaggerated? Because he did unequivocally say being gay is a choice.
The whole thing that if you're a social conservative and you say, which a lot of social conservatives don't, some do, some don't, that being gay is a choice, that it's automatically being a bigot. No, they're expressing something different. I understand why people are offended when they hear it, but they're understanding and implying things that Richard is not meaning to them. He's not throwing.
He's saying them literally. Like, what's there to misinterpret? He's saying homosexuality is a choice.
Sexuality as a behavior, not an attraction. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, okay.
But actually,
With
respect, Brad, he never said that. I spent 7 minutes interviewing him earlier in the show, and he had ample opportunity. And what he said unequivocally was that he thought it was a choice. I asked him for evidence to back that up. There's actually scientific evidence to the contrary. So I just don't know why you think that's an exaggeration.
If you're so scared of him and what he's doing and you think it's so horrible, no one will vote for him. And if no one votes for him, then you've got your proof of where the party stands. What Corey's concerned about is this. And this is why they're calling names and playing hardball politics to start this campaign off, is they're scared Richard is going to have a large number of votes, and in the end, he'll have a large influence in the race. This whole idea about people can't actually decide for themselves, if his remarks are thought to be bigoted by the Conservative Party membership, they will vote that way. The problem Corey is scared of is that a lot of Conservatives will look and not vote the way Corey wants them to.
Let me just ask you a quick question. Is there a fear at all, though, among people who care about this leadership race that the views or the positions that he takes will prove to be popular among at least a segment of the party that will have a big impact on the race?
I think that there is a significant number of social conservatives in our party. I think they are part of our party and have been for a long time. I think that's a healthy and good thing. I'm not scared of social conservatives, Brad. But that doesn't mean that all social conservatives are the same. And most social conservatives that I know don't think that homosexuality is a choice. That's a pretty narrow viewpoint, and it's one that is nakedly bigoted. And I don't think if you're a bigot, you should be allowed to run. I think the guy should not be allowed to run. And I think that Brad, I respect you in many ways. You're a campaign manager of the campaign.
Chair,
there's a bunch
chair.
the campaign chair, but the campaign management of Richard's campaign are some very credible people. I think you had a credible race, but I think I think the social conservatives can do much better fielding a candidate that is not making openly bigoted comments like this. And I don't think there's a place for him in the party. I'm sorry. There's a big place for social conservatives. I hope they do well. I hope others run. There are other social conservatives running in this race. But we got to draw a line somewhere, and I say it should be a bigotry.
I have just 15 seconds left. Brad, last word to you.
Well, what Corey's doing is he's playing into the liberal stereotype, and he's hurting the party in itself. If party members agree with him, they won't vote for Richard. If they disagree with Corey, they will vote for Richard. Let the people speak. Let them have their voice.
I'll be elected Pope before this guy is elected leader.
We shall see. Thank you very much to both of you for making time for us tonight. Thanks to Brad Trost and Corey Teneycke. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.